I hope all of you will have a wonderful session. I've been following the sessions from yesterday. Very quality speakers, very good insights. So let's begin this session. And as the title says, we are typically now talking about the adoption of blockchain in corporate India, because as much as blockchain is known for the five-letter word crypto, it's also about the B2B adoption of blockchain for various use cases like supply chain management, traceability, single source of truth, and all that. And who better than the kind of panel that we have here, who come from varied industries with very in-depth knowledge about business, to talk about what is going on in the corporate world. How does corporate look at blockchain? What is the rate of adoption? What's going good, and what are the barriers in terms of adoption of blockchain in corporate world? So I would request my panel members to give a line of introduction so that people understand where you're coming from and what's your perspective. And then also probably start this discussion by talking about one specific use case in your industry. It could be which your company is driving, or it could be at large the industry that you represent, which you see as a very promising thing. We start with that note, and then we get into details in terms of what are the challenges, what are the barriers, and how do you think those barriers can be sorted also? Because as leaders, the expectation is not just to point out the problems, but also probably to help us understand the direction in which we can solve these problems. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of learning as we go along. By the end of the discussion, we'll also open it up for questions to the audience. So if you have any questions, please collect your thoughts, and the last 10 minutes we can keep it for the questions. Right, so I'll start off with Mr. Jagdish. Jagdish ji, if you can throw a little light on some use cases of your industry. But before that, like I said, I would request each one of you to introduce yourself, talk a little background about yourself.
So good afternoon. I think I agree that it's a difficult session, and our job is more difficult to keep you awake. So I'm Jagdish Ramaswamy from Hindalco. We are in the business of aluminum and copper, and we control the entire value chain from mining until some of you who consume the green wraps or the aluminum foils that you get your food, right? That's a value chain. So the value chain consists of mining, refinery, power, smelter, downstream, and final products. So as a part of this journey in digital, the last 5 years we have been transforming Hindalco into a digital company with an aspiration to be among the top 10 digitally transformed companies in Asia. We are working on that. And when you look at technologies today, when we talk about digital transformation, I think there's a lot that's happening in terms of how different technologies are getting used for various use cases. And blockchain happens to be one. And I would say which is unfortunately not given so much attention compared to what its potential is. And I'll tell you why. And that's the session is all about why there is a barrier. So we are all used to, in manufacturing industry, the era where we had Excels, then we went to ERP, and then we had ERP plus a lot of Excels, where data used to be stored in people's computer, and it was their property. Nobody had the right to know the other one's data. So organizational data was all in silos. And then comes the digital, where we are saying data has to get into the people's hand in terms of democratization of data. And then today we are in the world of collaboration, where we are saying it's not just good enough for me to know what's happening. I want to know it then and there. So this whole aspect of data transparency, So that's how the world of data has evolved. And in digital transformation, we are today talking about democratizing data, democratizing the credits, democratizing intelligence. And I will talk about data and credit, which is related to today's topic. So the question is, many of you would have used blockchain. When we learn this blockchain technology, the first thing is, it looks very technology heavy. The blockchain, the cryptocurrency, Ethereum, Hyperledger. It's one of the reasons why we are not able to get the benefit across of blockchain is it's becoming very difficult. The language of technology is being more used. then the language of use case. So what we did is, let's not worry about blockchain. You just understand that blockchain is where data can be transmitted with trust without somebody overseeing or overlooking you. You don't need anybody to come and tell you whether things are right or not. You don't need an auditor to tell you whether something is going on among set of people. How do we create this transparency where everyone knows what's happening? That's when we put, and then we said, if this is what you want to achieve, and there's a technology called blockchain, what would you like to do? What are the use cases? And people came with 20 use cases in the workshop, one-day workshop. When we start morning, they said, blockchain, is it applicable to us? By evening, they came with 20 use cases. So my first barrier which I saw was, we must put blockchain as a use case basis for technology usage and not technology for the sake of technology. That's one of the biggest barriers. Same with IoT, but much more in blockchain because the technology looks very complicated. This 32-bit, it's very difficult to understand. What is a node? What is a mining? The whole language is so complicated. I took a lot of time to understand blockchain myself. All others I understood very easily. And from a use case perspective, I'll give you where we are using it. This we are now using for people who do not have access to your ERP, but they are necessarily an extension of your value chain, right? So they are part in the value chain, whether it's your supplier, whether it's your transporter, whether it's your customs authority who is transporting goods, whether it is third-party logistic provider who is taking your goods from your factory to the port and then putting it into the port, or whether it's the customer's agent at the other end of the export chain who is basically receiving the information of the material that has been loaded in Mumbai port. So just imagine that all the documents, everything, all the bill of lading, if you know, there's a set of documents. All of that being able to be available to my customer somewhere in US within a span of 3 hours, including bank approvals on all the documents. And all of those documents are transparent because the data is intact, bankers have seen it, my customer has seen it, my agents have seen it. Everybody in the value chain has a full view of that particular transaction, and the transaction has traveled from my end to the customer's end in a matter of 4 hours, which used to earlier take 4 days. Okay, that's the power of this technology if you give it a use case. And I'll give you another second extreme use case of in our own case, you are wearing all of the garments, right? For those of you who care for the earth, today we are talking about sustainability, right? How much water are we consuming? How much energy are you consuming? If I am a consumer who is ready to pay somebody a premium, if they show me that this particular coat was made without using a single drop of water, would you pay a premium? The question is, if somebody says, look, this has consumed least amount of energy, this has been made without use of any water, I haven't spoiled any forest, and here you are. Yes, of course, today's generation is willing to pay that premium. If I were to pay 10 rupees to somebody, I can now demand 12 rupees because I'm giving you this guarantee. How do I give this guarantee to you? That's what one example is, forest to fashion. Today, in the blockchain, in Aditya Birla Group, one of the companies, when you buy your this shirt, there's a label which you can scan, and it will tell you the forest from which the tree was cut, from where the pulp came for making this. Now, does it sound exciting? Maybe not to all of us, but there are a lot of people in the world today who are willing to pay premium. Now, in the next 5 years, it will become a minimum standard for doing business with you. So people today are asking, and if I extend that to my industry, look at green aluminum. You know, aluminum, for those of you who do not know, is very lightweight, it's recyclable. So if you buy anything aluminum today at your home, you can simply give it, we'll recycle it back and produce new aluminum. And so we do not mine fresh aluminum, and we are leaving the earth intact. So that is one premium people are ready to pay for recycling. Number two, when you produce aluminum, you consume a lot of power, a lot of water and energy. How much of that is consumed through alternate energy sources like solar or windmill? Now, if somebody tells you, look, your aluminum consumed very less power, will it be good? Do you feel good? Will you stand up and say, I belong to the green brigade and I buy only green aluminum? Now, if you have to stand up to that, as a company, I need to make everything transparent to you, right? So where did this aluminum mine come from? The product that you're holding, let's say this is an aluminum glass. Will it not be good for you to know that, look, this is made up of 80% recycled aluminum and without sacrificing the end property, this has consumed less power, this has no child labor. Now, that's the premium that people are willing to pay you. Now, the same report you can produce through multiple Excels, 100 people in the organization culling out reports, collecting data. Let's just imagine, I remove all of that and then say, look, there's a sustainability blockchain which can trace, as and when the activity happens, it will trace the green footprint of that particular aluminum. From the mines, how many mining material, fresh material was removed, how much recycling material was added, how much power did it consume, how much distance that the goods travel, what kind of vehicle did it travel. All of that information, blockchain, if it captures the value that we can derive for ourselves, plus being proudly saying that we are sustainable and making it transparent to the buyer, you, right? So that's the power of using blockchain. And if I have to do it without the blockchain, maybe I'll have to put 50 or 60 people just doing this work from end-to-end tracing and creating reports, just to show you that my aluminum is green. So that's where the two use cases I've given you, where the power of this technology, if it is married with the use case, can become very, very powerful. Okay? Forget Web 3.0 and all that. Just look at it from a collaborative platform where you can get all your partners onboarded. Data is transparent. They come to know when, then and there. And there is absolute guarantee and trust that nobody can tamper with the data. These three are very, very powerful use cases for us as Hindalco to adopt blockchain for many use cases going forward. So that's what I would like to share.
Great. Thank you so much for setting the context. Ashish, let me move on to you. And since Jagdish has already talked about use cases, instead of talking about use cases, I would probably bring you back to the topic, which is in terms of what do you see as the challenges? Because you also represent a very large organization. People use products from your company from head to toe. And so what do you see as the challenges in a corporate world? I mean, we all understand the obvious benefits of blockchain, theoretically, okay? But what do you see as practical challenges? Where are things getting stuck? Where is the disconnect?
Thanks a lot, Pankaj. And I'm Ashish Pandey. I work with GSK Consumer Healthcare, which is now known as Haleon. And the products which Pankaj was speaking about are brands like Sensodyne, Eno, Crocin, Otrivin, Centramin, whole lot of products. So thanks for having me over here. And prior to even coming here, we were having our connect around the entire blockchain and how corporate India is looking towards it. First of all, I personally see that there is a huge interoperability challenge, that there is no single unique blockchain universe where everyone can rely to. And of course, it started somewhere with the advent of Bitcoin, where it was unique and it's still valued because it was first in the case and no one was able to temper it with. But what I see that I want my all suppliers, all vendors, entire ecosystem to be on one unique blockchain. And the challenge is around adoption. People cannot be on different networks when they are actually getting into that. So there has to be consensus that we all are going to use similar kind of thing. So right now, the best thing which has happened in India is UPI. And you know what UPI gave to people? You can use it from anywhere. You can use it in PhonePe, you can use it in Paytm, you can use it in your bank account, anywhere. Anywhere you are able to use it, and that is what triggers the mass adoption. And that is where actually we need regulation and guidelines as well. Someone from government, someone from industry, they all have to come together and collaborate, and that is where we will be able to build that unique ecosystem. In our conversation, we had also discussed that somewhere in 1960s, people come together and said that we will be following things in EDI format, we will be doing ANSI equivalent. Those equivalent things across world has to happen. Some way, world has become a bit of disorganized. I think in blockchain, we need more organizations to come in.
Great, thanks Ashish. So I've collected 2 points so far. The first point from Jagdish in terms of it should be more use case driven than technology driven, and from your talk about how interoperability or standardization is very relevant. Otherwise we are creating a lot of confusion and corporates would not want to dwell in a territory which has these uncertainties, if I've captured it correct. Right. So, Manoj, you work in a very interesting industry where I think you interact B2B with large players, and at the same time you're also consumer facing in terms of the experience that they get while ticketing and all that. So request you to introduce and then talk a little about what do you think from your perspective as the interesting things in blockchain space and also the challenges.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Manoj Srivastava. I'm Chief Information Officer at Ismatrip. Blockchain is a very interesting subject. I can say today is a biggest example of digital transformation. Right. Number one is already technology already proven blockchain last couple of years. Only problem is two bottlenecks. One is at the framework level, trustworthy is very important because one interoperability, other department, other ecosystem not talking to each other. That is the biggest problem. Second is like say data traveling from one block to other block is also an encrypted format. Now again coming back to the use case, when we resolving the problem last couple of years, especially my industry, like say for example you book the flight ticket, now you're going to airport, you check in, then immigration, then you take the flight, then reach the destination. Now entire touch point should be interconnected. There are three examples we can see last couple of years. One is your DigiYatra. DigiYatra is a startup of the blockchain example. It is going to be connected with your immigration and going to be connected with your entire travel experience. So this is a start point. Second example of DigiLocker. DigiLocker is also one of the blockchain initiative. Tomorrow you can see all your important document is encrypted and downloaded in a DigiLocker format. Now coming back to Aadhaar card is one of the example. In my industry, I want to track each customer detail. Whenever customer traveling from A to B, I would two things, business value. One is we can track the customer entire the journey. Second, all the touch point, all the business value, whatever business value drive from the particular touch point, that's also get benefited. A real example is like say you using the DigiYatra, going to the airport. Now you have a bottleneck, say, especially I'm talking about India, check-in, security check is the biggest bottleneck today. Now security check, how we connect those security check without without any hassle, and you can do check-in, and also after that you can go and do immigration. So in couple of years, I must say, we're talking one of the forum, immigration also going to be connected to this Yatra concept. So you entire booking to traveling and getting the boarding gate is a seamless operation, and you need not to bother about anything, anybody, and you have only mobile phone, and mobile phone you do it with everything as a check-in. This is one of the biggest examples we try to achieve it.
So Manoj, how easy is it to get all these partners onboarded? Because for the example use case that you gave, from booking to immigration, obviously there are a lot of entities involved, airlines, airports, security, regulator, and all these things. So in your experience, have you seen people coming together, or what do you think? Where are we in terms of people coming together on one platform to even start discussing these things?
I must say it's still a dream, because we try to achieve this objective last couple of years. But yes, we achieved some action level. But the only problem is, which I can see in a bigger top approach. One, stakeholders or state department not talking to each other. That is the biggest problem. I tell you example at the airport. What happened? Airport, you can see the kind of a small city. But airport running in a ecosystem where all those people, all the departments, for example, immigration, CISF, ATC, all those stakeholders not talking each other because they are working with a different, working with a different ministry. So this is very important. Anything top level, they should be create an ecosystem and all this connectivity or framework they have to decide. Then trust me, technology is available last couple of years. The only problem is implementation and wish to implement, especially for government utility, I must say.
Right. Thanks. So moving on, Mudit, you run a very interesting company which is based on blockchain. I'm sure everyone sitting in the room does get affected with the kind of work that you guys are doing. I want you to talk a little about that and also about, from your standpoint, where do you see as the challenges? What are the challenges in terms of adoption of blockchain? Though you do a lot of consumer-facing stuff, so if you can just share your perspective.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm very excited to be, with the senior folks from the industry. I would like to say that I'm here representing the startup side of corporate India, and now what we do essentially is trying to, add to Manoj sir's dream of that unified experience. We just want to add that, that transit to and fro the airport also, along with the entire experience. So basically, we are a ride-hailing platform. For the lack of a better explanation, we are Uber on blockchain. And so basically, what we're trying to do is trying to solve for the problems that come with some sort of centralization in the transport network or the ride-hailing sector. And primarily things like, the dynamic fare pricing or your commission-based models or the operational model itself, the incentive model. So there are a lot of aspects of the entire business which we feel is broken, and we are trying to use decentralized tech to sort of shape that. I am about me. I'm Mudit. I'm a blockchain developer at the heart of it. I am a Web3 native person, and I've been in the space before blockchain got cool, I would say. So beyond that, I think in terms of what we are talking about, the barriers to entry, what I feel is the biggest barrier is the fact that blockchains, as Jagdish sir also said, it's become this difficult to grasp concept, and I think the biggest barrier to entry is the fact that it's not very easily available. And as per me, the next biggest step that will bring blockchain to the masses is this: your mobile devices and applications that you use on a day-to-day basis on your mobile applications, when connected to the blockchain, your Swiggies, your Zomatos, your Ubers, your DTDCs. So the things that you use on a more frequent basis is what is actually going to bring a lot of us and the masses in India and across on the chain. So and for that, of course, there are certain technical aspects of it, like you need to have unified wallet interfaces which are very easy to use, which support gasless transactions and so on and so forth. I mean, there's the technical side of it, and beyond that, there is I would say the operational side of it, which is probably the literacy, awareness, education about how to use wallets. What are the basics of, and of course a lot of that has to be abstracted away, because when we are trying to build something like Uber on blockchain, one of the things that me and my co-founder always thought is, you never want to book a ride and then wait for a transaction to get mined, and you see that loader spinning on and on and on, and that would be a terrible experience, right? So we want to make sure that the experience is as seamless as you would get on any of these centralized counterparts. So that's the attempt, to make it as seamless yet achievable and possible on your regular handheld devices. A lot of infrastructural developments are happening. Samsung is creating devices which has got HSM or hardware security modules which can store your private keys and stuff like that. There are some cloud-based services which can let you store keys in a sharded way. There is multi-party computation. So there's a lot of technical stuff that is happening. So as I said, apart from the technical stuff, there needs to be some things on the the operational side of this this thing to make sure that we are able to sort of take it to the masses. That's probably my take.
Mudit, how much is talent an issue? Do you see enough of blockchain talent, or do you see that is a huge crunch in terms of going ahead with more use cases, implementation, development?
So I mean, based on what I've seen, India's got a lot of young folks into blockchain, and they're probably one of the best developers that I've actually come across. In fact, ETH India was conducted in Bangalore, I think, probably late last year sometime. So we saw massive, footfall, and I was there as one of the, panel judge, and I saw, kids developing brilliant stuff. So in terms of where we stand technically, I think we are doing brilliantly. In fact, the favorite blockchain, I would say, project of one of the favorite blockchain projects of the world is an Indian project, Polygon. And the founders are very, very well respected, of course, Sandeep and Jayant and folks. So, I think that, in terms of tech, we've got a lot of support. What probably is required is support from the regulatory bodies and from senior personnels who've got vision like you all, I would say, who can help young talent to actually come up and build. Because otherwise it remains, all the problems that all of us have shared, it remains in silos, it remains unstandardized. Someone is building on Ethereum, someone is building on Solana, someone is building on this new blockchain, and everyone is so it remains very scattered. Of course, you've got inter-blockchain communication, you've got cross-chain communication, all of that is there. But at the end of the day, it still remains siloed. It does not standardize. So this happens when the corporate India, the big MNCs, the big brands actually come in and jump in. So I think that will help the young talent to know where to go. Yeah. But talent is definitely not a problem.
Right, thanks, Mudit. I'm taking the other points from you. Twice you mentioned Web3 native, young and all that, and make all of us here realize that experience is a liability in today's world. So I'm changing the plan a little. I want to go to the audience, see if they have any questions so that we can build on their questions. So any questions? Yes, ma'am. One question at a time so that we can give everyone a chance. You decide.
Then you decide, ESK is my trip or I go with trip.
You ask the question and they'll decide who is most suitable for answering that.
I'll try and make it very simple. When we say blockchain is trust, right? Any of these platforms, which is a booking platform. So I booked a ticket from Dublin to Delhi, which was via Frankfurt. So as a user, any user, right? I should be told that I need some transit visa. But most of the people, they just book it. And then at the last moment, when I'm coming from Dublin, my whole money got wasted, 1 lakh plus fiat currency. So how India is seeing this as a blockchain as trust? So the consumer comes first, but the consumer is unaware of what the laws is. So Ease My Trip or all of the platforms are responsible for it. So the next question is for DRIFE. You say you are Uber of something.
I requested you to ask one question.
Okay, Ease My Trip is fine with me.
Right. So, do you want to answer that?
Answer is, like say you rightly said, all those online travel industry and your airport and airlines, these ecosystem not talking each other. Let's say, for example, as I said earlier, you book the flight from any OTA, right? Online travel industry, right? You book the flight, you have an email ID and PNR number, ticket number, whatever. Now you're going to airport. Now here is the point, we want to connect you to the Digi Yatra. What exactly?
See, my point is, these platforms are making money from misuse of consumer first kind of hashtag. When I say consumer first, these platforms has to tell the user that, you cannot book the ticket. Do you have the Schengen visa? I didn't have the Schengen visa. So at the last moment, my 1 lakh fiat currency got wasted.
Right, that's what I'm telling you because...
So blockchain is trust. So we don't trust any of these platforms in India. So the legal part has to be taken into care.
That's what I'm telling you, because
See, DG Yatra is not solving the issue. These DG Yatra and XYZ are not solving any issue in India.
Yeah, I'll just try and help mediate here. I think Manoj started by saying that one, he did not say Digiyatra is solving the problem. He said eventually that is the vision. And second,
Earning money from this.
no, I think, I think we'll have this panel focused more on what is the possibility with blockchain and what are the challenges being faced with blockchain.
If the consumer is being fooled, so blockchain cannot be deployed in India. It's very simple.
No.
Everybody is infringing on intellectual property rights. He's from DRIFE. He says, I'm Uber of XYZ. Is he paying royalty to Uber?
let me answer it, because now you're missing the big picture. You're talking
I
about.
know the picture. Sorry to say, I know the picture very well.
Right, I'll great. I think I respect your views, and if there's more, we can take it offline also, right? In the interest of the larger group, we'll move on. You had some question?
We are talking about the whole decentralization aspect, and I think the most decentralized form of governance we see in India are the panchayats of villages. To what degree are we actually thinking of the solutions that at a certain level, a gram panchayat level, these tokens, etc., could be adopted? And this is about a population which, as of now, today, we can go to people of my age in many of the gram panchayats, they won't even know how to do a IRCTC booking. That's the level of digital illiteracy we are talking. So if we have to really make a Web3 a mass movement in Bharat, the adoption of the masses by Bharat, how are we planning that these fellows at a most decentralized level of gram panchayats actually start understanding and dealing in tokens and cryptos or all of these underlying technologies?
Can I
Sure.
try taking that? So, just a question to you. How many mobile users are there in India?
I'm assuming more than 400 million.
23% of the 1.4 billion.
World population, right?
Not world population, India.
In India, there are more than 700 million mobile users.
So I'm talking about from 1.23.
Ma'am, the question was for him.
Yeah.
Request
So-
you to.
So, coming to that, how many active internet users?
About 200 million.
Again, more than half a billion. We are 437 million people watch YouTube regularly in India, which is, I think, more than population of US, right? So this is the kind of, now coming to the adoption piece which you were speaking about. You cannot stop technology for the sake of just adoption. And you cannot start technology without adoption. So both things will be going hand in hand. So as we were discussing earlier, that there's a challenge specifically around the regulatory piece of the blockchain. Somewhere we all have to agree that this is what we are going to use. He mentioned platforms like Solana, Polygon. Most of the platforms, they are not speaking to each other till date. And again, new technology and new platforms are coming up every day, which is actually confusing. So somewhere that has to come through. And at the panchayat level, now coming to your question, you cannot rely on, so if a person is not even on cellular phone, forget about the mobile network and all those things, right? If they are not just using mobile phone, how will they do it? They won't be. UPI has launched the phone bank based, SMS based also. I don't think that it is being used heavily. It is still not used that heavily. So those are the challenges which we'll have to live through, and there is going to be a generation which has to pass through that. So it is going to happen, but it doesn't mean that we should not start developing the technology and start deploying it in the market.
So we should have at least a generation-long vision to.
No, not generation. So I'm right now 42-year-old, and when I look at people 3 years younger to me, they have entirely different thought process. So that paradigm is shifting very fast. We should not wait for a generation. It would, logically should not take more than 5 to 10 years.
I think I'll also take a minute to add that, frankly, it should become so simple, and just adding on to what Jagdish also initially mentioned, it should become so simple that the end user need not look at it as this technology or that technology. So whether it is voice based, whether it is touch based, whether it is with large icons, whether it is kiosk based, whatever be the mechanism, I don't think the end user needs to worry too much about what is the technology behind that. Why blockchain? I mean, the end user today doesn't even understand web technology, but that's how it has to be. So end user need not understand. I think we all should be a little more charitable to the kind of adoption of technology in India. And like Ashish mentioned, UPI is a classical example. The same kind of questions were asked a few years back, and there's a viral clip about a parliament question also which goes around. Will a coconut vendor be able to use UPI? And believe me, as a challenge, personally, I don't carry cash in my wallet for the last 2 years. And yesterday I had a little problem in Delhi. Last time when I went to Mumbai, there was a little problem. But in Hyderabad, at least, we have absolutely zero friction to use UPI. And here also with 1 or 2 dialogues, it gets settled, right? So, like UPI, I mean, what is the difference between, let's say UPI, let's say tomorrow UPI is on blockchain. How will the end user even know about it? And why should the end user even know about it?
So,
right?
Pankaj, a completely point taken that your user interface should be absolutely seamless. He need not know what is cryptography. He need not know what is blockchain. But when we are talking about tokens as a concept, whether they are fungible or non-fungible, it's a bit of a new kind of a paradigm shift with respect to ownership or utility rights in a company, in a brand.
There has to be backing. There has to be backing from trusted sources. And that is where, see, if we speak about US, if we speak about the economies which are larger than India, right, there also the acceptance is not there. There is no regulation. That is why I'm continuously saying that someone has to back it up, that this is the trusted source. Why do you believe in money? Why do you believe in rupee? It is backed by government, right? And that is where we need backing. So once we have that, that option is going to be smooth. And 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I was attending a similar kind of conference. And there was one gentleman who was like that, why do we need to digitalize all the bank? How it's going to help us? And you see where we are now.
Absolutely. Great, thanks.
Your neighbor has a question, if you can pass on the mic.
Hi, so I have questions, like maybe I think 3 people here can answer. So because as a tech head, I just want you to guide me through the like thought process you go through when you're selecting a blockchain. So for example, sustainability for you, maybe transparency on the fraud, for example, fake medicines being sold in Africa, exported from India, and even in India. And then similarly, how to select a blockchain for the travel industry. So a very short like way, how are you thinking through about selection of the blockchain? As I think you pointed out that there's so many blockchains you can work with, but there is a sustainability blockchain, there is something which does transparency really well. But again, as you said, they don't talk to each other. So I just want you to guide me through the process of how are you selecting the blockchain?
Good question. I would request each one of you to probably quickly.
Okay. So I'll quickly tell you
share your,
how we are. So first is, I think there are a lot of experts whom we hear out, right? Listen to them. But like he said, try to get all your use cases onto a single platform so the organization doesn't need to deal with multiple platforms. That's one. And you make a choice from the wisdom of the person who is giving you the solution. Now, we are not the experts, right? People who are breathing blockchain day in and day out, they will tell you exactly what is the right use case, and for the use case, what is the right blockchain to choose. And platforms is something today, you choose today, in 2 years you may have to change. So we are today, the technology refresh has to happen. You have to be on the technology refresh every 2 years. That world of once done, it's all done is not available for us. And he said, right, who thought somebody in the market is going to use Paytm 5 years back, right? So it will evolve. I mean, there's no one, I can't give a formula that this is how you choose. But I think you have to, it's a combination of your organizational landscape, the partner whom you're bringing, and whether that particular platform is apt for your use cases.
So I will take it at a very basic level. Humans have very less needs, right? We don't need these fancy clothes. No one needs it. So humans have very less needs. It's about that, why they need something. And when we are speaking about blockchain or any kind of technology, if I speak about myself, I am less of a technology person, more of a business person. I try to understand that what benefit it is going to be for my customers and consumers. I'm in healthcare segment. I also try to see that how best I can help my consumers. Now, if I'm getting onto a blockchain, if I'm looking at any kind of solution, I will be carefully trying to understand, first of all, in how simplified way I can tell people who run dhanda that this is going to solve their problem and what all problems they are having. And second, that it should not only solve just one problem. It should be solving multiple problems, because I don't want people to get confused. If I give 2 more buttons in a simple app, which people are using on the field, they start asking questions. So adoption is a challenge. So I want easy thing, single thing, and something which can be explained very easily to people.
Do you want to add something?
I'd like to say from the technical standpoint, is a very basic thing. Couple of decade here, basically what happened, we talk about TF technology. There are no database. Now, gradually, that converted in a database. It is RDBMS. After that, NoSQL or open source come in picture. Trust me, blockchain is going to be next database.
Right, well said. I was actually thinking about the same thing when the question was asked. Frankly, a lot of this kind of discussion has happened multiple times whenever a new technology comes. There used to be a time when database interoperability was an issue. Like Ashish started his conversation today by saying ERP came because EDI was a challenge, or standards in EDI came because before that there was a challenge. So I think these are teething issues of any technology evolution. Great, I think we are right on time.
I just want to
Please.
add a last comment.
Please.
Okay. From all the questions that you put, I want to add 2 things. Don't look at, this session was about blockchain, but the real life problems are not about blockchain problems, right? And he said it. To that, you had a problem, right? So that's not a technology problem. When we approach technology, approach it with what is the business problem you're trying to solve. So multiple things have to come together. First is the process. The blockchain is not going to solve your process problem. If the organization doesn't believe that they want to divert transparency, don't try a blockchain. It is not going to work. So it's not technology first. It is the business process first. Simplification of technology next. Third is, don't underestimate the power of common man. I mean, I tell you, you don't need any education. You just give it so easy and make it simple. People will learn. And you have today so much of, you go to the search engine, you have so much generative AI. It will give you all the answers to how to use. So I think, don't look at it in isolation. While the session was about blockchain, I think look at technology in totality to solve a business problem.
And you won't get these kind of responses in generative AI,
Yeah, so at least my panel is relevant for the next few years till something better comes. Right, on this note, let's wrap up. A round of applause for the panel members. Thank you so much, all of you, for a very candid discussion. And I think what I liked is that no one was trying to sell technology. No one was trying to sell blockchain. And yesterday also I was part of a panel, and that's what I concluded. And I think this is the best that audience can take. A very impassionate, neutral view about what is working, what is not working, rather than trying to use the platform to sell fantasies. Right, on this note, thank you all. Thank you so much, and thank you to the audience for being a lovely audience. Thank you.